Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live event hosted by K2View and PractiTest, titled The Future of AI in Software Testing. What's hype, what's real, and what's next? Hi, my name is Amitai Richman, Director of Product Marketing at K2View, and with me today is Noa Segol. Noa, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with Amitai. Thank you for having us. My name is Noa. I'm the VP of Marketing at PractiTest.
Great. Thank you, Noa, for being here. Guys in the audience, if you have any questions along the way, please send them our way using the button on the top right with the question mark. At the end of the session, we'll answer as many questions as we have time for. As this will be a short 30-minute presentation, if you'd like to learn more about our respective solutions, there are various attachments that you can download, which is the paperclip on the top right of your screen. There's the slides for this presentation, analyst research, reports, and more. Also, there's a change layout button, so you can play with your views and check that out, the different layout options. And lastly, if you're interested in a demo of our AI-powered solutions, please go to the poll section and quote-unquote vote for a demo, and we'll follow up with you after the session to schedule a demo, and you can see how the AI solution looks in your own environment. So today, we're going to talk about AI in test management. Noah will talk about that. Then I'll talk about AI in test data management. And we'll talk about the future of AI in software testing. And then Noah and I will take your questions for Q&A. If we don't have enough time to answer all of your questions, then we'll follow up with you one-on-one after this session. So Noah, can you please take it away?
Yes, please. Thank you, Amitai. Hi, everyone. Before I start talking about AI, I'd like to take a very short intro about PractiTest, for those of you who are not familiar with who we are. So as a company, we were founded in 2008 as a SaaS solution. Even back then, now it goes without saying, but back then it was a little bit more innovative. We currently have customers in more than 55 countries around the globe. You can see a subsample of them. We work basically in any industry, as any company now is a software company, but those are some of the major verticals or industries that we work with. And we were recently recognized by Gartner Hype Cycle for Software Engineering. And in the attachment, you can also see Forrester Total Economic Impact that analyzed the ROI of PractiTest. I'll do a quick hint. They found 312% of ROI. So if you are, I invite you to have a look, have a glimpse on that part as well. We'll carry on to the next slide. So a little bit, not about the company, but about the product as it is. PractiTest is a test management solution. Okay? In essence, we are a centralized hub connecting any type of testing into one source of truth. On the screen, you can find a bunch of logos. I assume you recognized some or more, all of them. And typically, we hear that a common company nowadays works with somewhere between 5 different testing tools. And then it's a struggle of finding out what really is the situation and the status of our testing. And in that aspect, this is what PractiTest comes to solve. We're an end-to-end test management. We leverage the power of AI. I'll display this in a minute. But in a way, we're end-to-end, covering every aspect of testing. We'll go to the next slide and see that in an essence, as I mentioned, we provide end-to-end testing coverage all the way from planning of visioning part that can be done in our platform or external platform, which we integrate with, to the core of testing, test execution modules, library for usability, and test sets and runs for better organizations. Issues, because unfortunately we do find bugs and issues that needs to be corrected, and the core of measurements, reports, and dashboards to visualize and communicate what we do. You can go into the next slide, and then I'll carry on and saying that in a way, our perception about testing is that we test not for the sake of testing. We say we test for the sake of releasing better products into the market faster. And in a way, testing is a mean to an end, and it is a business enabler. And everything that we do should be perceived like this. We know that sometimes this is not the case, but this is something we strive to change. And we want to help our customers. We are helping our customers to make informed decision with real-time visibility to know what is going on. Okay, this is sample of the dashboard that can be exported externally, the reports, and so on. As on the slide, those of you watching on demand or can receive it later, you can also see a short on-demand video here, a demo here. But as Amitai say, also to show one. We're happy to have one tailored specific to your own company. And without further ado, let's not talk just about PractiTest. Let's talk about AI. So we started this session with the promise of talking about what's hype. And I think that in a little bit, the hype, okay, by the way, if we are to look at this image is an AI-generated image where I prompt ChatGPT, please create an image of an AI bot replacing a QA tester. This is what we see in front of us.
It's pretty scary, no, I have to say. I wouldn't want to work with one of these robots sitting next to me.
I agree, right? It's definitely not inviting. And I think that in a way, the hype goes a little bit to AI will take all our jobs. And both Amitai and I assume some of our audience as well, has enough mileage within the industry to remember, I don't know, about 5 years ago when everyone was talking about automation will take all our jobs. Okay, and we're not there yet. And if you are to ask me, I don't think that AI will take our jobs. I think that we will shift into a world where AI is an enabler, but I don't personally think that AI will take our job. What do you think, Amitai?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about it later on in the presentation, but in short, I 100% agree with you. AI is about becoming more efficient and automating things that we do and doing things smarter. But I don't think that humans will be taken out of the equation entirely.
Agree. So that's hype. Okay, we start with the hype. The hype is important. You know, it's a North Star vision to perhaps a perfect world, but we all know this is not a perfect world we live in. Let's go back into the reality. What's real? Okay, and in that aspect, I'd like to quote, more reputable source perhaps than I am, for those of you at least who don't know me. So this one is from Gartner Market Guide for AI augmented software testing tools. And in a way, by the way, when we talk about reality is that AI is not replacing us. Yeah, AI is augmenting our software testing activities. And in that aspect, it automates and eliminates repetitive tasks that took a lot of our time, and it frees us to a more creative and more useful elements of the testing job, okay, testing and the testing jobs to be done. And specifically, if we are to focus on domains that get the most traction in regards to AI augmented testing nowadays, so we are talking about test scenario and test case creation. I will show how PractiTest does it in a few minutes. We talk about test data generation, which Amitai will display later in this session. We're talking about test suite optimization and prioritization. Again, a great challenge that we're facing. Test automation generation, which is getting there, but won't be a focus of our session. Analysis and defect prediction, and about effort estimation and decision making. Okay, so those are areas where we are seeing AI augmented software testing already in place, and you can see on the estimation and decision-making part, this is a work in progress. This is something that we're still working on as we speak, but stay tuned. Now, going back to will AI take our jobs, I'd like to present the results of, this is a sample of a survey that we have been conducting for the past 10 years, calling the state of testing. We ask, how are you using AI tools as part of your testing process? And surprisingly so, 60% of respondents were not using AI for testing tools. Okay, 25% were using for test case creation, optimization, planning, and so on. Important to note, by the way, that the data collected here was on Q1. Okay, that's important. I assume we will see a change in that in the upcoming survey, which we are opening quite soon for respondent. I do believe we will see a huge shift, because the last year had been a drastic in the AI adoption. But it is important to mention, because sometimes it feels like there is a huge hype. AI is taking our job and everyone is utilizing AI. And we know that in reality, there is a learning curve, especially the larger the organization, the slower the adoption. This is something that we see, and data supports it.
Yeah, and I think, Noah, everybody here in this audience watching us today is cognizant of this. They wouldn't be joining the session if they were not hearing about it and wanting to learn more about it. So I guess it is top of mind for everybody here.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. The reason I mentioned this because sometimes you get the feeling that everyone is already had adopted it, and I'm the only one left behind. And I don't think this is reality, and this is what the slide is showing us. That was my point taken. That I hear this. I'm already behind. Now we don't want no one to be behind. Thank you for joining us. This is important, but just also don't feel like you're the only one left behind. This is not reality.
Yeah,
Let's
far
go
from
on
it.
and talk about PractiTest a little bit. So as we mentioned, and as Gartner displayed, I think we were part of who they cover in their ability. One important ability and one time-saving capability that AI is changing our life today is test case creation. Essentially, this was a time-consuming task that you no longer had to bother yourself with, at least not in the core. Essentially, what we do, we automatically create test steps based on name and description. You or a product owner include the name and the description of what this test should cover. And with a click of a button, the smart Fox create test for you, and it's interactive. You can amend it if needed. Okay, you can shorten steps, expand them, change the tone, correct them. Of course, by the way, important to mention, AI will not replace that. AI needs testing still. So I'm not saying this is solving all your challenges, but it's definitely a huge time saving. You don't start from scratch. You have a baseline, a structure you can amend and adjust. So this is one important element of test case creation. The other one is a little less trivial, but I found it to be way more unique and I might say more important. The other one is about prioritization. We're all under pressure of doing more with less people and with less time. And in that aspect, we don't have enough time to test everything we'd like to test. And in that aspect, the prioritization and decision of what should be tested becomes crucial. Our AI value score helps do just this. We allow, based on run and execution of your own project, we provide a score for every test. And then you can only run the tests that provide the most value, taking into consideration the amount of time you have. In addition, if you are not short on time, or now this is the perfect mechanism to house cleaning your test suite and your test library. So you want to accumulate endless amount of test cases that just takes too long to run everything, which gets to the point that you give up in advance of executing everything. You don't need to execute everything. We live in an agile world. You just need to execute what's right. And this is AI is help you determine what is right and what you should execute.
Awesome. Thank you, Noah. If anybody has questions for Noah, please submit them in the question box in the top right corner. So let me tell you a little bit about K2View. If you're not familiar with K2View, K2View is a data product platform that powers critical operational workloads. We have solutions for various use cases, including test data management, data masking, synthetic data generation, and more. Our clients are enterprises, and we're proud to be positioned in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for data integration, recognized there as a visionary. I highly recommend you go to Gartner's website, Gartner Peer Insights, where they have customer reviews of products, and I recommend you check out what people say about K2View's products. So I'd like to illustrate where AI is automating and accelerating test data management by using our solution as an example. So let me first explain the process. First, we extract data from data sources. So we can connect to any data source, whether it's a mainframe, a relational database, NoSQL, flat files, whatever. Then we map the data's relationships in the built-in catalog. And after that, we run different types of scanning wizards to discover the PII. The first type of scanning is based on rules, and the second type of scanning is based on AI. So I want to double click on that and talk more about PII discovery. So there are three parts of K2View's TDM solution where we use AI, and PII discovery is the first. Now, PII, we all know here, is a major challenge. It's a very significant potential risk, especially when it comes to protecting PII as you move it from production databases to lower environments. Now, we've been using our own technology to scan customer data sources using rules to identify PII, and it works great. But now we've added in our latest version a new technique where we use LLMs as well. The LLMs scan data sources and classify the PII in the data catalog. It's really cool to watch, and I remind you that there's a poll button if you'd like to see this or the PractiTest AI-powered solution in your own environment. Please click on the poll and select the demo that you'd like to take. So, for example, if you're scanning customer data, and let's say you're looking for names, so there's usually a first name column and a last name column, and sometimes names can appear in other places depending on the kind of data source of the database. For example, it could appear in the notes section. Now, sometimes you could be in a specific country, let's say the country is the United States, and sometimes there'll be foreign language names. Now, it could be that the rules are not designed to pick up foreign language names and characters, but the LLM can understand this, and they can understand the relationships, and they can understand that a German name, for example, is a German name, and they will identify it as PII and categorize it as such. So we're using ChatGPT by OpenAI to scan the data sources and understand the relationships, the dependencies, and that helps the data catalog classify the data correctly. Now, I'm going to share a very surprising data point with you. So Noah mentioned the state of testing survey. I think, if I remember correctly, Noah, we just conducted a survey on the state of test data management, and we just got the results, and the report is far from ready. But one of the data points that we saw in the completed results is that we surveyed 300 people, all working in enterprises, and only 7% of the 300 people surveyed said that they believe their enterprise is fully compliant. A whopping 93% answered, we believe that our enterprise is mostly compliant. We might have some sensitive data in lower environments. So the importance of PI discovery cannot be understated, especially as the very large majority of people are saying they suspect that they may have an issue of real data, sensitive data in lower environments. So I want to move on now to the second place, the part of our solution which is powered by AI, and that is data masking. So what you're looking at is where our transformation and orchestration engine within K2View. And the truth is that there's lots of different things you can do with this. Data masking is just one of them. But in the latest version, we've added a co-pilot, which can help you select what you want to do. So for example, in the context of data masking, you can use your own language to say how you want to mask data, which data you want to mask, and where you want to provision the data to. So this is, and before you actually go and do it, on the right side, you can check what the AI understood as what you wanted to do. You can check if that's in fact what you want to do, and if you're happy with the result, then you can go ahead and do that. So that's the second place where AI is incorporated in our TDM solution. The third place is regarding the provisioning of data. Now, you can provision masked production data into a lower environment using our self-service portal, our web portal, or via APIs in the CI/CD pipeline. However, there are also additional options, including synthetic data generation, where we have different generation techniques. The technique that I want to focus on in this presentation is the GenAI technique. So with this technique, what we want to do is we want to create a test data set that mimics the production data in terms of the same patterns and the same distributions, same correlation. So we want to create a fake data set that mirrors the production data set. Now, to do that, we don't necessarily want to mimic all of production, because we know that in a specific test scenario, we may want a specific subset. So for example, let's say I want only customers in Texas that belong to a specific loyalty program, that have spent a certain amount of money, that has been a customer for a certain amount of time, whatever parameters you want for this specific test scenario to test an application. So what you want to do is you want to create synthetic data. So you first subset the real masked data in production, and then we train a machine learning model to study that data and generate new data based on that. And this is what it looks like. This is from our self-service portal. So software testers can generate synthetic data themselves. They can train the AI model. They can do everything that I just said completely by themselves. They don't need to have any understanding of the data sources. They don't need to know where the data actually is. All they need to do is decide which parameters they want for their test scenario, and then they can go and generate a synthetic data set. So that's regarding our solution in the present day. Now let's talk about a possible future of AI in test data management. And of course, I can't read the future, but I'm going to make some assumptions here. So we talked about using data masking to automate the process and to do it faster. That's what we have today. But in the future, I can imagine that the AI will study the production data, or perhaps a masked version of the production data, study the relationships, and recommend which data masking technique you want to use. So today, you can either manually choose which built-in masking algorithm you want to use. You can use now with K2View the AI copilot to help you automate that and do things quickly. But in the future, the GenAI may make recommendations of what the best technique is. For example, they may say for a specific data set, we'll use the differential privacy technique, where we add noise to the data so that it obfuscates the original data and protects PII. Now, there's a certain amount of different privacy noise that you want to add to the data. You don't want to add too much because you might drown out the utility of the data. So AI can do that fine tuning for you and tell you how much noise you want to add, not too much, not too little. So that was about data masking. Let's talk about subsetting. So we talked about how today the QA team or the QA engineer will look at the test scenario, will look at the test case, and decide what test data they need for each scenario. And if they're using K2View, for example, they can go ahead and subset the test data that they need, whether it's mass production data or it's synthetic data using one of the techniques. But in the future, maybe you'll just feed the scenario into the AI. And I think Noah was talking about this, and feel free, Noah, to tell me what you think and how you look at it. But you can basically feed the test case scenario into the AI, and then the AI will tell you what kind of test data you need. Maybe you'll review it, you're saying okay, and then you run it, and then you get the test data.
In a way, I'll jump in and answer, and that's kind of also, it's yes and no. That's also kind of answering the question, one of the questions that was in the Q&A, but we'll address it in more details shortly. But essentially, if the data isn't good enough, we will find that the test is not providing the value it is required. So it will get there in essence, not what data, but it will tell you, it will identify scenarios in which the data that was used is insufficient and where you need to make improvements.
Awesome. Okay. So we're seeing how AI is already powering test data management and is being incorporated into the test data management processes. We at K2View will continue to implement AI throughout the solution. And I think that going back to the theme that Noah was talking about the partnership between humans and AI, Noah asked about the hype will AI replace us? And I think we agree that at least for the foreseeable future, AI will augment human beings and not replace us. So we'll be more efficient and we'll achieve better results, higher quality software, faster testing processes, etc. And one thing I want to talk about for a moment is consider: do we really want an AI to do the entire test data management process from beginning to end, meaning to extract data from the production database, to determine by itself whether it's PII, to provision it to the testing environment, pray that it's done it correctly, and then subset data for specific test cases, and then output it into the testing environment? I personally don't think so. I think we'll always need human beings to supervise the process, to make sure that there's no PI getting into the testing environment. We'll want to make sure that it's being done correctly. We saw before that the survey where we saw a lot of concern about PII being in lower environments. So I think that's something that we'll still want to keep a close eye on. And so the last thing I want to say is that if you're attending this conference, this live event, or watching it on demand, then you realize that AI is an important part of our ecosystem, and revolution is already underway. And I think that QA professionals, and really any professional, and organizations that embrace AI will gain a significant competitive advantage. And by doing so, you'll be able to accelerate the software delivery lifecycle. So that's our presentation for today. Before we take questions, I want to remind you, please, that you can download these slides along with other reports and white papers in the attachment section. That's the paperclip on the top right. You can also watch a video on demand about K2View synthetic data generation, where you can see the product up close. And of course, you can request a demo using the poll question in the poll section. Suggest that you go check out our websites to learn more about our solutions, and to follow our pages on LinkedIn so that you can see future product releases and updates also relating to AI. So Noa, can you please kick us off with a Q&A session?
Of course. Thank you, first of all, for everyone who asked questions. I see that some stuff needed further explanation because I forgot to mention them, but also quite interesting questions to address. So one was about the model that I haven't mentioned, and apologies for this. The Smart Fox is utilizing the OpenAI ChatGPT for test case generation. Obviously, it has to be enabled on an organization level. Some organizations decide not to, but most organizations do authorize this once they review the legal elements of it. So that's one question. The other question was about how do we decide which tests provide most value and what type of analysis is being done. A quick story behind that. We built this feature after analyzing what makes a project successful within our customer base. And then we started analyzing, I think, a list of 13 different parameters. For example, if a test always passes, then it's not providing value. If a test always fails, again, it's not providing value. If it's not been executed sufficiently in the previous runs, then it's not providing enough value. If it's not being corrected, it's flaky. So there is a list of criteria that's being adjusted and utilizing the value, checking the value that this test is actually providing. Okay, and we'll be happy to explain a little further, but I'll hand over additional question. I'll ask one for you, Amitai, because this one is regarding test data management. And the question is about how does the TDM integrate with Tricentis Tosca testing tool and SAP?
Yeah, so the how is a technical question, which we'd be happy to take with whoever's asking offline and explain the mechanics, but we definitely work alongside other tools like that, and we do work with SAP systems, so we're completely compatible from that regard. So we'd be happy to take that question offline. Feel free to go to the poll section and click on request demo. We'll be happy to share more details about that. I see another question here. Oh, go ahead, Noa.
No, I was just reading that for you.
Yeah,
and that one I think is important about, as we talked about compliance and security, is a question about HIPAA. It asks like, are you able to do analysis of HIPAA data and anonymize that?
Absolutely. I mean, we work with healthcare companies, and to some extent, data is data. On the other hand, patient records and different types of data can be handled a little bit differently. And also, what you'll probably do is you'll choose specific techniques, whether it's specific data masking algorithms, or synthetic data, depending on exactly how you want to follow the HIPAA regulations. So there's different customers that are complying with the same regulations in different ways. So to some extent, it's a customer-specific preference, and we K2View give you various tools and you can switch between different techniques. You can try one and see if you're happy with it, and you can switch to another as well. I'll take another question here. There's a question: how do you protect PII data? So I did talk about the importance of protecting data, PII, and I mentioned it briefly in terms of the protection. But just at a very high level, you can either protect it with data masking, different types of anonymization, data tokenization, or with synthetic data generation. So we offer lots of different techniques to protect the PII data. But the first part of it is to identify the PII, because you can't protect what you can't see. So the first part is to really find that PII in an automated way, because we hear from a lot of people that they're spending a lot of time looking for that PII. There's so many different data sources scattered, fragmented data across massive networks. And so it's a big challenge, and we can help with that challenge to automate it and to give confidence that you've really found everything that there is. Noah, are there any other questions you want to take? Because we're on time here.
Yes, please. I'll steal 1 minute of your time just to address the tip of the iceberg of the answer. The question was about, can we instrument the code that's being tested to evaluate how much coverage automated test is achieving, about line and branch coverage? And in that aspect, this is a broad answer, so I'll give it a snippet. The answer is it depends, and it depends on the amount of information that's being transformed into PractiTest. In an essence, we don't track code changes. There's plenty other tools who does that, but what we do get is that we're able to get results of basically any automation test that's been executed, and also to parse our CI/CD results. And you can define a milestone that's also including automation testing. And in that aspect, yes, once you have the information within the platform, you can definitely create a coverage report to measure where you are on the progress of the milestone within. And the milestone can be any time frame or any project that you define. And as you mentioned, we'll be more than happy to have technical team display this in real time.
Absolutely. We promised 30 minutes. We did 30 minutes. Thank you very much, Noah. It's great presenting together with you.
Likewise.
Really enjoyed co-presenting with you. Thanks everyone to the audience for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you all.
everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.